The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Midweek Analysis.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for May 12th of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the pound dollar. This is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. Alright, so there was a weak double bottom right here. And since weak double bottoms typically do not go as target height, generally in this area right here, in the long term, I am short biased right back down to this pivot low as a target. However, since there's a little bit more strength long left in this weak double bottom, in the medium term, I am long biased right back up to this pivot high as a target. And finally, since I'm waiting for the weekly chart to show some direction, in the short term, I am neutral biased. Okay, let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So there was a strong short trade right here, then a weak long trade. So as price pulled back, I was looking for shorts right back down to this pivot low as a target, and that target was hit right here. And at this point, I'm waiting for another weekly long trade to form, so then I could gauge its strength. And if this long trade is stronger than this short trade, then that's along with my medium term buys, and I'll take a long right up to this pivot high as a target. And on the other hand, if this weekly long trade is weaker than this short trade, then again I'll be waiting for a pullback up so I could take a short right back down to this new pivot low as a target. Okay, so that's the basic setup I'm looking at. Now there's some intraday trades I'm taking, so let me explain those to you. Let's go over to the daily chart. Alright, so on this daily chart, the last short trade that formed was right here, with its stop loss being right here at this pivot high. Now I was talking about how if price pulls back, giving me a small risk for this trade, I'll be taking a short right back down to this first target right here, and possibly a second target right down here. Now price did pull back nicely and gave me a very small risk because the stop loss is right here, and the entry was generally in this area. So the risk was only this distance right here. I took this short trade and that first target was hit the following day. So I took out 80% of my position and left 20% in just to see if price could get to the second target way down here. Then last week I also explained that if price action in this area showed tendencies of strong long price action, then I will abort that last 20% immediately. Now what eventually happened at this price level was that on the 1 minute and 5 minute charts, the price action was neither strong, long, or short, so it was rather neutral. And seeing that the NFP was about to be released, I took out the remainder of that long position, roughly in this area. Okay, so at that point, I took out the entire position for this trade. Okay, then on Friday, I took another short entry, generally in this level right here, with the stop loss being right here. Now this stop loss was very minimal. It was 10 pips to be exact. And again, I was targeting the same levels as the prior trade, which is the first target here and the second target right here. And I was mentioning whether or not I stay in this short trade depends on the lower time frame's price action in these levels right here. So let me go ahead and explain those two. So we'll go back to the 1 minute chart. Okay, this is the 1 minute chart. So I entered that short trade roughly in this area right here. Now the reason being, when it comes just to the lower time frames, is that the price action long in this area right here and in this area was not that strong long. Again, this price on the 1 minute chart did not have compact price action. So in other words, the distance between each peak was too wide for it to be strong. Same as this one right here. And so I kept that short position over the weekend. However, on Monday, as the market opened, there was a medium gap that formed right here. Now, gaps are another indication of strong long momentum. Now, in this case, since this gap was relatively big, say about medium size, I aborted that entire short position roughly in this area. So I took about a -4 loss at that point. Alright, let me zoom in right here to show you what this gap looks like. Alright, so this gap right here on the Monday open is what showed me that there's long momentum left in this move. Now when it comes to gaps and measuring momentum, the key thing to look at is always the width of the gap. Now in this case, this gap to me is about a medium gap in terms of size. So for example, if this gap was only this big, so if the gap was between this level right here and this level, I would not have aborted this position. Okay, so just remember, when it comes to gaps, the width of the gap is the key metric to be looking for. Alright, now yesterday I took another intraday short trade on this pair, so let me go ahead and explain that to you. We'll go over to the weekly chart. Alright, so on this weekly chart, like I mentioned earlier, the basic setup I'm looking at is to wait for another weekly long trade to form, so I could gauge its strength and see if it's stronger or weaker than this last short trade. However, in this case, even before this long trade formed, price is giving a pullback, which could possibly end up going right back down to form this weekly long trade. So yesterday I took a short entry roughly in this area. I believe it's the 1.4145 level, with a stop loss right here at this pivot high. And the first target being right here, and possibly the second target being right down here. So let me now show you how I'm going to manage this setup. Okay, so in a case like this, hypothetically, if price does get up to this medium-term target at this pivot high right here, without making that weekly long trade so we could gauge it, there's going to be extremely strong long price action as price gets up to these levels. Now what I mean by strong long price action is basically going to be on the lower time frames. So from the 1 hour to the 1 minute chart, if price starts to make compact price action like I was mentioning earlier, or starts to make very big gaps long, those are reasons why I might abort this trade. Moreover, if price starts to make this type of strong long price action, there is a possibility that price will not make this weekly long trade, so we could gauge it and then take a long and go straight up to its medium-term target at this pivot high. So at this point, I'm willing to take short trades with the stop loss right at this pivot high, as long as the lower time frames do not make strong long price action. So if price does start making this type of strong long price action, I will abort this trade altogether, assuming that price will reach our medium-term target right up here. Alright, one last thing I do want to touch on is about risk management for this intraday short setup. So in this case, my stop loss is at this pivot high right here, and my entry point was generally in this area. So the stop loss is generally 100 pips. However, I just want you to keep in mind that when you're taking trades, the dollar amount of how much you're risking should generally never change. So in my case, I generally take a $1,000 to $1,200 stop loss amount. And this dollar amount never changes. However, the lot sizes that I trade differ from each trade setup. So in this case, since I'm taking a 100 pip stop loss, I'm only taking a position size of 1.2 lots. So I can make sure the amount I'm risking always stays within these parameters right here. Okay, so a good thing to remember is that when you're deciding your risk for your trades, the amount of risk in dollar terms should be decided first, and then decide the lot size to trade accordingly. So in other words, if your stop loss pip count is big, the lot sizes should decrease. And furthermore, if the stop loss pip count is small, your traded lot size should increase. Okay, so let's go on to the NZD-USD pair. Alright, this is a weekly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since this move up right here, starting from this range right here, was solely based on momentum, in the long term, I am short biased, right back down to these pivot lows right here. However, since there's a little bit of momentum long still left in this move, in the medium term, I am long biased, right back up to this pivot high right here. Alright, let's talk midweek price. Alright, so on this daily chart, the last long trade that formed was right here, with the stop loss being right here at its pivot low. Now, I was mentioning last week, if price gives a nice pullback, minimizing my risk, I'm considering taking a long right up to our medium-term target, right up here at this pivot high. However, according to how price is moving on the lower time frames, in these last couple of days, there is a possibility I might not take this long trade. Now, the reason why I might not take this long trade is rooted in the idea that possibly this daily long trade already hit its target. Now, let me show you that target that I'm talking about. So I'll take you over to the monthly chart. Okay, so on this monthly chart, try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now, this trend line is very strong due to the fact that there are many touches on it. Moreover, there's a gap level right here between these two candles. It's rather small. But you have to remember that these are monthly price characteristics. And that entry that we're talking about was on the daily chart. Now, under normal conditions, since the weekly chart is still long bias right up to this pivot high, I wouldn't mind taking a long on that pullback to that last daily long trade. However, the way that price reacted at this monthly trend line level does show a lot of weakness. So let me explain that to you. Let's go over to the 1 minute chart. Okay, so the price action I'm talking about is this price right here. Now, the way price reacted at that monthly trend line on this 1 minute chart was actually strong long. So this price action right here is a very good example of compact price action. You see how the width between each peak is very small. So this is indicative of very strong long strength. And normally when price tries to get through those strong higher time frame price elements, price does make this type of compact price action and gradually gets through those levels and then goes off. However, in this case, although there was compact price action, it still failed and did not get through that monthly trend line. Now, to me, that shows that perhaps that daily move already hit its target. Now, let me show you what happens when trades hit its target. I'll take you back to the daily chart. Alright, so again on this daily chart, that last long trade was right here, with the stop loss being right here at its pivot low. Now, when trades hit its target, possibly that monthly trend line, price often pulls right back just to stop out the traders that are still long in this position. Now at this point, because of the way that price acted at that monthly trend line level, this scenario of this pullback to the stop loss level is becoming a possibility. So the way I'm going to trade this setup is to watch the lower time frames price action. So as price pulls back, minimizing my risk because my stop loss is at this pivot low right here. I'm going to keep an eye on the lower time frames to see if there's any strong short price action, like compact short price action. And if that type of price action does form, I will not take this pullback long entry. So hypothetically, if price does pull back just to stop out these long traders stop losses here, what I'll be looking for this long entry right up to our medium term target right up here will be simply for another long trade to form. And then watch that trade and see if it could get past that monthly trend line level on this second attempt. And the other option is on this daily chart also, so let me show you that to you. Alright, let me just zoom out here. So try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. If price could come back right out to these levels and start to make compact price action on the lower time frames, in this case will be the 1 hour to 1 minute chart, then that's another possibility that I would take a long right up to our medium term target right up here. But keep in mind, even when price does make these long entry setups, I'll still be watching this trend line level right here on the lower time frames to see if price could start making compact price action gradually get through that monthly trend line level. Okay. Alright, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, guys. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.